Hey there, Regina Anley here, and it is time for Coffee with Regina. And I have my friend Donna Mintz, I think I pronounced that right, with me here
Yes.
today. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
Fabulous. Donna, first off, welcome. Thanks for being
Thank
here today.
thank you for having me on this gloomy day.
Right? I'm in New Hampshire and it's pretty gloomy here too. So let me tell y'all a little bit about Donna and then we'll get to chatting. So Donna is a certified integrative health coach and she's the founder of the Living Rewired Success Path. Now, she's got over 20 years of experience as
Mm.
a personal chef, as a personal trainer, and as a functional nutrition expert. And what she does is she basically helps men and women over 40 lose weight, get their energy back, and basically feel in control of their bodies. So
Mhm.
here we are on, this business live stream. Why are we talking about this? Well, if you don't have your health, nothing else works. And I'll tell you, we'll start chatting. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. Back when I was in corporate world, I was stressed out. I was overwhelmed. I was having anxiety attacks.
Ooh.
It was nasty. I was gaining weight. I was literally not taking care of me at all. And I got to the point where when I left corporate world, I was a mess and it took some time to recover. Now, I know you have a similar story. So tell us a little bit about your journey and how that brought you to what you're doing today.
Well, my stress did not come from work or business. My stress came from personal. I lost my mother very suddenly in 2015.
Mhm.
And my dad was not healthy at the time. He had already had 5 heart attacks and had 11 stents. And he could not really take care of himself. So it was up to me and my brother. And both of us, we did live near him, but trying to take care of him became very stressful, especially as he aged and just got worse. He never had another heart attack, but he had lung issues. He was a very heavy smoker. Lucky Strike, no filter. His lungs were horrible. And he just kind of, I just watched him just become this debilitated shadow of who he used to be. And in doing that, trying to take care of him really was very stressful. He lived in New Jersey. I lived in New York. He lived in South Jersey. My brother lived in West Jersey. And there was just a lot of stress in that moment, trying to take care of him, this is the man who slayed my dragons as a child. And the sadness and the stress of watching him become somebody who was on oxygen 24/7 for the last 3 years of his life was very stressful and very upsetting. He spent the last month of his life in the hospital, and my body just, everybody would say to me, "How are you?" And I'd say, "I'm fine. I'm okay." And until he passed away and we got his affairs in order and sold his house and all, is when I realized just how bad I had fallen, how low I had fallen. The stress was overwhelming, and I never put the word stress to it. I didn't know what was happening to me. My hair was falling out. My eyebrows were falling out. My eyelashes were breaking. I had such terrible brain fog that I never would have been able to have this conversation with you. My joints ached. Everything hurt. I had such bad gastrointestinal problems, sometimes I couldn't even leave the house. And when I found a really good doctor and started putting all the pieces together, it really came back to stress.
Mm. You're telling that story, and I have a similar story too, because it was my dad who passed away first, and then I became my mom's caretaker. So after I left corporate world, Then I started my first business after I got myself back in order, and then dad passed away. And then I became my mom's caretaker. And literally the cycle started over again because I didn't know, I didn't realize what it was doing.
Right. Exactly. So we don't think of, when we think of stress, we think of it as this mental thing. Oh, my boss said something I didn't like, or I had an argument with my significant other. But stress is so much more than just in our heads. Stress is a hormonal, chaotic representation in your full body of what is going on and how you're perceiving what is happening to you.
And that is so true, because that is exactly what I found out through process of finally getting in charge of myself. And I went and I had all this stuff tested, and now I was on stage 3 adrenal failure and all this other stuff. And it was literally all created from being burnt out. So for all the watchers here, I just want to ask you, have you ever felt stressed out, burnt out, overwhelmed? Well, guess what? If you don't pay attention to those signals that your body's giving you,
Right.
it can get out of control. And what I learned, and Donna, you can speak to this, it happens faster than you think, and you don't even realize it's coming on. And all of a sudden you're like, why does everything hurt? Why are my eyelashes falling out? Why is my hair falling out? Why do my joints hurt? You don't realize that it's actually because of all of this stress and this overwhelm and this, it's the burnout factor. And if you're a business owner and you're not paying attention to your health and what's going on, because I don't know any business owner that I talk to them all the time. And that's the first thing I get. Oh, I'm struggling with this. I'm stressed out about this. I'm overwhelmed with this. I'm burnt. I'm feeling burnt out. I'm working 70 hours a week. In my job, I was working 40, and now I have a business and I'm working 70. And this is crazy. If you don't actually stop and pay attention to what's going on, you can end up in a really bad place.
Yes. Yes. Stress can be very debilitating if it's not addressed. You and I had things that occurred because of stress, and we dealt with them. But people who don't deal with them, these things can turn into illnesses that can become debilitating. So managing or finding a way to manage your stress has got to be a priority, especially in the business world.
Right. And so you started a business. So you basically took your journey and everything that you learned. So tell us about how you went from, okay, all of this stuff is happening in my life, and now, mom and dad are gone, mine are too, and all of a sudden it's like you hit this realization of, what am I doing now? And so tell us about your journey of where you were as to what you're doing now.
Well, so I became a certified integrative health coach back in 2003, I think it was. It's that long ago. And at the time, I was a personal chef and personal trainer, and I combined it to help people get healthy. And I kind of left it and put it on the back burner. Life happened, and I started a skincare company. And I looked in the mirror one day and I hated my skin. And I knew from my experience in the holistic world that really what we put on our skin can potentially be absorbed, really depending on the health of your skin. And I tried all the stuff I live 3 blocks from Macy's, the largest department store in the world. And I was there constantly, and really nothing was helping. And I decided to start researching and doing kind of my own DIY kind of thing. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. But I decided that I needed to learn why. So I went to school, created products, launched a skincare company. My products worked really, really well. And what happened was I was talking to women, and I thought I was talking about their skin when what I really was talking about was the hormonal changes that happen after 40.
Mm.
And so I was like, okay, I'll talk about menopause. But now when I say that word, people literally take a step back. People don't want to talk about menopause. We should all be talking about menopause. Men and women alike, we should all be talking about it. But we don't, and we don't want to, and we're embarrassed, and it comes with all the feelings and all the things. And so I started talking. What I realized was that what people really wanted to talk about was the hormonal components. So I went back to my roots of coaching and helped women start losing weight again and feeling good. And I was getting such good feedback. And then the men in the room were like, oh, I want that too. I want to feel good. I want to have energy. I want to have less brain fog. I want all the things. And so here we are. I'm giving them all the things.
So basically you went and built a business around, you rebuilt your business around what you already knew and added that amazing experience for the life experience for what you went through, so that you could help other people who might be in the same situation.
Yeah. And I also did a lot of research. I am not the same coach that I was back then. Back then, I bought into the dogma, the diet industry dogma, calories in, calories out. We all did. We thought it worked, and it did work, but it never worked long term, because nobody actually ever said, I want to lose 20 pounds in 30 days and gain it all back in 60 plus another 5 to 10. Like, nobody ever said that, but that's what we got. And when I started to do the research and to understand why, I realized that cutting calories slows our metabolism.
Ah.
So I come at weight loss from a much different way than the diet industry does. And I really talk about feeling better in your body, having more energy based around lifestyle. It's really about food. We're not making the connection between what we put in our mouths and there's an outcome. Every time you put food in your mouth, there is a conversation with your cells, and there's an outcome. So that outcome really is up to you and what you're eating and how you're moving and how you're thinking and the stress in your life. There's a lot of different components, but I'm not the same coach I was before. I have never told a client this time around that they can't eat the dessert. Like, eat the dessert, but it's more about consistency than one dessert. One dessert is not going to ruin everything.
Right. And as you're saying that, I want to bring up two things. One of the things that I want to point out from something that you said, I wrote down as you were talking about it right at the beginning of this conversation here, was all I could think of was, yeah, you knew this. You knew you got yourself way over the edge, maybe off the cliff. And
Almost.
yet you knew what to do right, and yet you didn't do it. And same thing with me, because I knew how I should eat, how I should work out, how I should de-stress. And yet in the moment of everything going on, I didn't do it.
No. So I just wrote a book, and I talk about this, and I say I kind of lost myself. Like, I put my father first, and that was all I focused on. And when my hair started falling out, and when I was so bloated after I ate, and just feeling no energy and having to take these naps at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it was like, I don't matter right now. Like, I can't deal with this. Yes, I know what to do. I know how to get myself out of this. I know how to feed myself. I know how to cook. I know how to move my body, and I know how to do all of these things. But right now, I can't do them. I don't have the bandwidth to take that in right now. So I just completely lost myself.
I'm not smiling at your situation. I'm smiling because I'm like, yeah, that was me too. I was like,
I get it.
I totally relate to this whole thing. And,
Yeah.
you know, especially for business owners, right? I talk to so many people that, I'm constantly talking people off the ledge.
I'm
And
sure.
they're overwhelmed with what's going on. And I keep telling my comment to them is always to get back to basics, get back to, stop and get back to your basics and make sure that you're fitting that in. So when you're talking to people and somebody comes to you and they're in that mode, they're stressed out. You can see it. I'm guessing you can spot them from a mile away, and they come up to you and you can feel their energy, and you're like, okay, they're in that space. What do you tell them? What is the first thing you tell them to do?
Everybody's different. There's not one particular overarching thing that I would say to somebody, because some people are so far down that as a health coach, it's outside of my scope of practice. And I own that. But there are others where some people just need to take a step back, and some people are aware that something needs to be done. If you're not aware, you need more help than I can give you. Yeah. If you are aware, I try to find out where it's coming in from. Mm-hmm. And then it's a matter of finding. If I tell everybody to meditate, they're like, yeah, that ain't happening. Some people just, the type A's, I was one of those, I can't meditate. I do meditate now, but it's taken me a very, very, very long time to get there and be like, oh, maybe I'll try meditating. It's not working. But so it's not always meditation. You really have to find what works for you. For some people, it is the meditation. For some people, it is a bubble bath. And for some people, it is a spa day. For other people, it's breathing and feeling their body. My favorite thing to do is, stop, and look around. 3 things you see, 3 things you hear, 3 things you smell. Brings you back to this very moment. And then what can you do from there? I try to look at it from a place to start, which is there. And maybe it is, like I said, the bubble bath or whatever works for you. For some people, it's going for a walk. For some people, it's hitting a punching bag. We have to find what works for us, for you specifically, whatever that looks like. But then I also like to look at the other factors. Food and gut health are a huge part of stress. Your gut and your brain are constantly talking to each other. So sometimes it stems from that. And if we could clean up some of the food intake that is not serving us well, that also can help with the stress. People don't equate food to stress. I know.
Right. But if you're eating junk food all day long, so sure. Again, going back to a typical business owner's day, and I know I used to be this way years ago when I first started my business. My first business was a brick and mortar business. It was a computer repair shop, and so I actually left my house. So I obviously work from home now in my home office, but then I left home and I went to the office. And then the day started, and it could be 4:00 in the afternoon. And I'm like, oh, wow, I didn't eat lunch, or, oh, I'm snacking on all this junk during the day because, I'm busy and I'm doing stuff. And a lot of people, even people who work at home in their home offices, they snack on junk all day long just because, well, I'm busy. I got this, or they turn around and they're like, oh my gosh, it's 4 o'clock. I haven't even had lunch, you
Right.
know? And so they don't stop to think about what they're doing. And then before you know it, they're in that situation, right?
Yeah, I actually did this. So when I was a chef back in the early 2000s, I would go from house to house to house to house cooking, and it'd be like 7 o'clock at night. I'd be like, I didn't even eat.
You made all this food for everybody else and you haven't eaten.
And I have not eaten. So yeah, I get it. You're busy. I would grab a coffee to keep going. I completely understand it, but here's the thing. What you put in your mouth is information, as I had mentioned. You're going to get a much better outcome when you actually take care of nourishing your body. That is really, really important. Like, that's everything. However you can fit that in, whether it is setting a timer, I tell people, a lot of my clients will block it off, like a meeting at 1 o'clock, lunch, even if it's for 15 or 20 minutes, it's something. It is nourishment. It's getting food into your body to fuel your brain to think for the rest of your day. It's amazing the changes that people see in their businesses when they're much more clear-minded at 4 o'clock instead of running for coffee or sugar for that sugar boost. Also, moving your body at 4 o'clock, instead of going for the chips or the coffee or whatever, if you're working at home, go into your kitchen and do some what I call them counter push-ups, or do some squats, like move your body. I'm not saying you got to do 100 squats or 100 push-ups, but 10, 15, it gets things moving. And again, it gets your brain moving in a different way and in a much healthier way. These little, what I call movement snacks throughout the day will really feed your brain, and you'll be using that stress.
Right. And you just said something key right there, using your stress. So
Yes.
there is good stress and bad stress.
Yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So good stress is going to be the kind of stress that I'm a New Yorker. Okay, let's go with that. It's going to help me jump out of the way of a moving car, of a moving out of control taxi cab on a New York City street. That's good stress. We want that kind of stress. That is going to be the stress that is going to remove us from danger. Then there is the stress that from everyday life, that the boss that pissed you off, the client that is being difficult, the argument with your significant other, or even a friend, like whatever that kind of looks like, they're both the same hormonal cascade. But when you use, so all right, cortisol, we'll stick with cortisol. Cortisol is your main stress hormone. Cortisol, you release cortisol, it releases glucose, which is energy, and you jump out of the way, you use the energy. All good, we're done. But if you're sitting in that stress, you release the same cortisol. Your body doesn't know the difference. We have to release energy, and if we don't use energy, it gets stored as fat.
Interesting.
Yeah. So use the energy. You're feeling stressed. It's 4 o'clock. That client pissed you off. The boss pissed you off. Your spouse or significant other pissed you off. Use the energy. Do the push-ups. Do the sit-ups. I don't do sit-ups. Where'd that come from? Do the sit-ups. I haven't been down on the floor doing sit-ups in probably 10 years. I don't know where that came from. But use the cortisol so that it's not sitting there eating away at your body and storing fat. Use it. It'll help your brain. There you go.
That is a great tip. So I've heard a couple key tips here. First is find your center. So if
Yes.
you're in that spot and you're like, where do I start? It's go find your center. I love that idea of that, the power of three there. Go out and, walk around and, what are three things you see, three things you smell, three things you hear. And, it
Yes.
takes your brain out of the chaos of whatever's going on. So I was actually at a conference last week and somebody said something I hadn't really thought about. It made perfect sense and it totally applies here.
What's
And
that?
the comment was to make sure you go outside at least once a day and do
Mhm.
exactly that, look around. And um the science behind it I hadn't really thought about. When you're inside, there's all these dimensions. You're looking at walls, you're looking at a screen, you're looking at all this stuff. When you go outside, your brain, your physiology changes because there's no structure. You're looking at trees maybe blowing in the wind or a bird flying.
Oh,
Everything's moving. It's not static. But when you're inside, it's static. And I was like, that makes perfect sense because that's what I do. I go out for a walk to clear my head.
wow. That's
Yeah,
pretty amazing.
I know, right? It was mind blowing for me when they said that. I was like, you know what? That makes perfect sense. I've reaped the benefits of that, but I never really understood why. And then when they said that, I was like, that is so
Makes
cool.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never thought of that in that way either. There are so many benefits to being outside, and now you've given me another one.
Right? I mean, you'll have to do some research on that because I just heard it at the conference last week, and I was like, "That was brilliant." I was like, "You're absolutely right." When I go outside, I'm looking at the trees, I'm looking at the birds, I'm looking at whatever, the squirrel running across the street or
Right.
whatever. And there's no dimension there as far as like there's no structured dimension. There's no walls. Right now, if I look up, I'm looking at the ceiling, and there's all these lines, these angles. Everything is set. But when you go outside, it's not like that, and it completely rewires it. It makes your brain let go of things. And, I think that fits right into what you're saying and that whole going outside. And the second thing that I heard from you is, once you find that center, then you need to address where is the stress come from, where is it, and is it bad stress, is it good stress, do I want to go stand up and walk away from my desk and go do 10 counter push-ups, or just 10 squats, or maybe just lift my legs up and do a little marching or something to move the body to release that energy. I never really thought about cortisol sitting there becoming fat.
Well, cortisol to glucose to fear.
Yeah.
It's acid, but yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not many people have. We don't actually understand the everyday people don't understand how we gain weight. We're always told it was calories in, calories out. It's got nothing to do with calories. It's all about hormones.
And that's amazing. We are getting low on time. I want you to talk a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about your book and when people can find it and all that kind of stuff.
So my book is called Weight Loss Rewired, and it will be I'm hoping we're looking at January 13th. And it's really about what we're talking about today. It's not a diet book in the sense of cutting calories. Like I, again, never told anybody to eat a certain number of calories or to burn off the calories from last night's dinner. And I've never told a client you can't eat dessert, but it's built around lifestyle. It's built around nourishing your body. It's built around the way we need to move after 40. I work with specifically men and women over 40, and our bodies change. Men too. Everybody talks about it's only women, menopause. No, men have andropause. Their bodies change too. So things get different, and we need to nourish our bodies differently. We have to move our bodies differently. That whole feel the burn, yeah, no, Jane Fonda was wrong, especially after 30. And I talk about managing stress and detoxing what's in your environment and sleep, recovery. We live in a world where it's go, 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 go. We need to bring that down and really look at sleep. And that's really what my book is about. And then I have a whole section about intermittent fasting if people want to do it. But I teach people how to do it the right way.
I love that. And I mean, it's the whole rewired. I mean, I love the subtitle there, reset what diets broke and restore what your body always knew. I love this. That is going to be amazing. I know I'm going to get a copy. So, so tell us, because we're out of time, believe it or not, because I know I've been through some of the stuff. I know you've lived through it too. We could talk about this for hours and why it's important for everybody, not just business owners, but anybody to make sure they're paying attention. So if people want to get a hold of you, maybe get on your mailing list so that they know when the book's coming out, what's the best way for them to do that?
Email me, donna@donnajwellness.com. Drop me an email. I'd be happy to chat or just put you on my email list if that's what you want.
Yeah, trust me, everybody, you need this book. I need this book too. And, it's, get on the mailing list so that we know, if January 13th, for some reason, I've published books. I've published one solo book and 5 collaborative books. I know. Oh, wow. I know stuff happens when you say, yeah, I'm launching it on this date and stuff happens. So you want to be on her mailing list so that you know exactly what the launch day is so that you can pick this book up, because this is going to be amazing. So donna@donnajwellness.com. I'll make sure that your contact information is underneath all 3 of the platforms that we're streaming live on right now, so folks can get on that mailing list.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I want to thank you so much. This has been such a great conversation and a needed conversation for folks. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And yes, it is a very needed conversation, and it's something that people need to deal with. We all need to deal with and manage our stress.
And is there any last piece of wisdom you want to share? Maybe a tip or something?
Oh my God, you're putting me on the spot.
I just put you on the spot.
You know what I think there were some really good, both given really good tips. Get outside, come into the moment. If you give people too many things to think about, they just spiral more. So either get outside, look around, move your body, be in the moment.
Perfect. I love that. Thank you so much again for being here. And we will see you all next time on Coffee with Regina. Bye for now.
Bye.